All right. Call the meeting to order. Start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, the roll call will let the record reflect that all members are present. Board chair comments. I have no board chair comments this evening. So I will take a motion for the approval of the agenda. So moved. Thank you, Randy.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the approval of the agenda. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Appreciation, recognition, and presentations.
Chairman Hofstad, members of the board, Superintendent Weirkamp. I'd like to take this evening to recognize Kathy Tortzen for a national or a regional Jostens recognition that she received. A little story: when I hired Kathy as the art teacher with the expectation that she would continue the tradition of yearbook, there was maybe a few tears and some
That's like blood and sweat.
definitely tears. Trying to follow up someone who had been doing it for 30 years kind of was just something that he could do in his sleep, knew what needed to be done. It is a tremendous undertaking. And Kathy dove into it, did it the first year. It's always reassuring when after a newer employee tries something the first time, when they come to you with the recommendations for changes that they want to make to that program to make it better. And she came to me with changes that she wanted to make, things that she could do different, what's important, what's not, how can I make this my own? And Kathy did that. And she's been recognized for it by Jostens. Out of the 140 schools in the Midwest region of our sales rep, only 2 or 3 schools of those 140 received the recognition for their yearbook like we did, like Kathy's team did. It is based on maintaining sales of the book, meaning that the book is in demand. Coverage, Jostens works very closely with advisors to make sure that the students, every student in our building is covered an equal amount of, you don't have someone in the, obviously you're gonna have people who are heavily involved and are involved in a lot of different things that are gonna be involved in team pictures, but to make sure that every kid is captured somewhere in the book. And it's a tremendous undertaking, 550 students, X amount of pages, to make sure that you get over the course of a year, your student photographer is going out and getting pictures of every kid in different settings and in different places and making sure that they're in the book. And they put a lot of work into making sure that happens. And she was recognized then by Jostens for that consistency, for that coverage of all students in the book. She was recognized as one of the 3 out of the 140 schools for her efforts in creating a high quality year, 2 high quality yearbooks for our school, 1 for middle school and 1 for high school. So I'd really like to congratulate. It was worth all the tears and all the effort and the blood and sweat. She has done a tremendous job with this book. And I'd like to recognize Kathy Tortzen.
I can't die. Thank you.
Somebody does it.
Yeah, right here. Thank you. Oh. I love it. Look how you almost all were in there.
Tyra, you missed the memo.
Sorry.
Next time.
Chair Hofstad, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Workant Herman, Friendship Activities Director. I'm here to recognize Chloe Reedy for being picked as the Central Minnesota Conference Athlete of the Week for October 1st through the 6th. She was nominated for her moving up to the varsity level, which can be a kind of scary feat when you're just a little 7th grader. But she has done well, and has finished towards the top of almost every single race that she has done at the varsity level. In this particular meet, she had finished 2nd. And she ran a very good time at a difficult course. So, congratulations, Chloe.
It's either a picture or a speech.
Good picture.
So I actually have a recognition I would like to share with everyone tonight. So I would like to recognize David Lem and our technology team, Nicole Call and Andrew Higman, for getting us off to such a great start. That probably is one of the most challenging departments to participate in and definitely to lead, because we all know when the internet's not working, you're the one being called, and it's really hard. And they just have done such a great job ensuring everyone gets their computers on time. Things are running well. They're so supportive and assisting others when they need help. They're great at giving ideas on how to do things better and more efficiently. And so I just want to thank them for all of their work, and they give great customer service to all of us. And we really appreciate all of you. Thank you. Andrew missed a number.
No, I don't have to do the security.
Put the Vikings on the side.
I thought we wanted this to be a good meeting. All right, thank you all. Recognition of citizens for input purposes. All right, doesn't look like anybody's here. So we'll go to reports. So I'll start with mid-state report. We had a solid 25-minute meeting this month. Did approval of hiring for about 5 positions and 3 contracts for like snow removal and maintenance, which was good because the maintenance, as they went around and did an estimate for it, they found a whole bunch of things that they weren't expecting to find. So it's really good that we got that company to do it at the time that they did it. So that was good for mid-state. Finance.
Finance committee met on October 17th. We didn't discuss a whole lot. The revenues and expenses being behind the pace as last year. I know that Scott's going to go in more in depth about that. He's going to share also tonight about the auditing process that the schools go through. We talked a little bit about the adopted budget being 935 APMs, but our current enrollment for October is down a little bit to 920, and just the variance there. And That was about it for finance.
And policy, I can talk about policy as well, so, we have for third policy readings. 10 policies that we got through, and we went through all 3 times, and we actually looked at these 4 times. Just to make sure that we got those correct. And then we have 2 of them, that are second policy readings, transportation and crisis management, that, were just minor changes. And we have a list of, 8 new ones, it looks like, to start off this month, so it'll be, another busy month, which it always is with policy. Anything to add? All right, we'll go to superintendent report.
Yeah, so excited. Everyone's back from MEA break. I think they were ready for the break, but it didn't feel like a lot of stress before we went, so that was lovely. We have section volleyball Thursday night. Excited to see we play Holding Ford. Section football tomorrow night at KMS, so we're gonna travel a little bit. And cross country, we have section meet at Hinckley on Thursday as well. And just excited to announce that we did hire Joe Weiser as our new transportation director. He started today and he has over 20 years of experience in school bus transportation. So we welcome him on board today. And again, thank you, transportation, because every time we hire a new person, our transportation technology, there's a lot they have to do behind the scenes along with HR for the onboarding process. And so appreciate the time you spent today. That's about it. Oh, yes. And then the strategic planning committee meeting, thank you. That's it. I put out to the board, we're hoping to have November 29th at 6 p.m. If there's an alternate date you would propose, we can talk about that tonight just to see, hoping 1 or 2 of you could make it if possible. We'll follow up more on where we're at and where we're going.
All right, thank you. Business manager report.
Hey, can everybody hear me okay?
Yep, we got Scott.
Awesome, perfect. So ladies and gentlemen of the board, Dr. and Superintendent Weirkamp, my name is Scott Moran, as hopefully you guys all know. And Michelle, are you pulling up my report or you want me to share my screen?
Nope, I got it.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to just have our first look at the FY24 October budget update. As was mentioned before earlier, our current adopted budget was based off of 935 ADMs where we were tracking last year. And then also now current year, we're at 920. So we're behind pace there, but hopefully we can make up that difference. And then revenues, I always pull out the snippet out of the highlight out of the budget book and just give you an overall picture of where we're at currently from year to date prior. So we're $519,630 behind revenue pace of FY23. And then I go into the next slide talking about that and where it's coming from. So the main thing is due to the timing of payments from the state and also to do with the state receivable entry for the audit. And what that just means is that at the end of the year, we have to tie out all the revenue that we have received so far for the fiscal year and then book the receivable as to what we're still expected to come, such as you may hear me refer to as the 10% holdback from time to time. So next thing on the next slide, so expenditures. So if our revenues are down, then we would also expect our expenditures to be down, which you can see. But where does this primarily come from? And doing my math or looking at doing the analysis, looking at this from the year prior, a lot of it was coming from the capital fund. So last year we did have a rather large fund balance for operating capital. So we took that and we put that back into the classroom and where it was needed for such things as furniture, curriculum, but the capital outlay requests. And we'll continue to do that as a team. Come May, come together, get those expenditures, see what everybody can, and then we'll determine what we can and cannot do as a district. So it was nice to hear that the board members do like my 101 finance updates. So I did not have this in there currently, but I did add a section for audits because that's what we're currently in right now, and I can't wait for these audits to be over. They're a lot of fun. I really do truly enjoy the audits, but it's just a matter of fact of trying to get through them and do your daily job on top of it. But not complaining. Got plenty of work to do, which is fantastic. So just for the board members who aren't necessarily aware of how audits work, a school district has what they call field days. A lot of times auditors are becoming more and more remote, such as with Royalton. They're becoming more remote because they have access to all of our systems. So they can get in, they can see the vouchers, they can test, test different things. If there's over $750,000 in federal revenues, they'll do what they call a single audit. So that all that does require additional testing. So every district will typically book your field work from August to October, and then every single firm, or excuse me, every single district needs to submit a clean audit to MDE by November 30th. And just because of that date of November 30th, it doesn't necessarily mean that the audit needs to be presented to the school board by then. It can certainly be presented at any time. It's just that to be able to be eligible for the finance award, you have to have your audit submitted by November 30th. So next slide, Michelle. So this slide I wanted to talk before we get into anything. And again, our audit is not finalized yet. I'll give a quick update here at the end of this. But I want to talk about findings. So when for the new board members, when you hear findings, I don't necessarily ever look at findings as necessarily bad or good. Findings is what the auditors do when they're testing all of our financial processes within the district. They're testing them. If they find something that can be a better process for the district, they'll include that as a finding. And then we just need to make sure we do our due diligence to correct that finding moving forward. So enough on that. We never consider findings to be necessarily bad. I already mentioned that, but gives us room to improve. And then if we don't have any findings, does that mean that we're perfect? Absolutely not. We always strive to do things better. It's the goal of the business office to basically stay out of the way of the teachers and the staff that are doing what we're all here for, and that's to educate the students. So we try to make their lives as seamless as possible. It may not feel that way sometimes, but we certainly try, and that's what we aim to do. And so now I'm here. Let's give a quick update on the audit. We've had our field work pretty much gone smoothly. We've had a new auditing firm, Brady Martz, and they've done a lot of good job. They've done a great job, but they are asking a lot of questions that aren't typical when you've been with the same auditor for a long time. But they do need to get to know our district and the things that make us tick, and things that are maybe different or unique to Royalton versus other districts, such as like our tower, the cell phone tower that we get money for that. So there's different things that they need to look into. So I would say that, and I'm completely guessing here, but I'm guessing that we're 95 to 98% complete of the audit. Just have a few things to clean up, and then hopefully we can get that scheduled to be presented in November or even December. I think that was the ultimate goal, to do it by December of the same night as Truth and Taxation. So make sure you guys get a good night's sleep for the night before that, if they both are on the same night, because there will be a test on Tuesday morning by me. Just kidding. So any questions on the business manager update?
We're good. Thank you very much, Scott.
Yep, thank you.
Principal report.
Chairman Hofstad, members of the board, Superintendent Weerkamp. Three things I have on the agenda. This Friday, we will be hosting our career fair. This was an event that we lost last spring to Infinite Winter. And we are doing it now in October. They started working on this many months ago. In fact, it was already working on it last spring. We will have grades 10 through 12 meet in the gym. All students signed up for 4 different career areas. And they will have 4 sessions that they attend, then to learn about anywhere from construction work to I know the paramedic with the LifeLink helicopter is going to land in the parking lot on the north side. Officer Westby and DNR. Some medical personnel, a bunch of different people that will be presenting different career areas. Students then choose by their interest area who they want to meet with. And so we will be doing that on Friday, October 27th, this Friday in the morning. Parent teacher conferences for high school will be Thursday, November 16th and Monday, November 21st from 5 to 8:30. Parents will be able to schedule a conference time with whatever teachers they want to meet with during those times. I think they have 10-minute blocks scheduled out during the night, and that will be available once the schedule is up. They can do that in Family Access, go in and schedule their conferences. And we will send out information to parents when it's time to do that. My last thing is on Thursday, November 9th, in coordination with Royalton Elementary School, we will be hosting at the high school a Veterans Day breakfast. Our FFA, Food Science, Life Skills Lab classes, Minnesota Honor Society, and the Student Council will be hosting the Veterans Breakfast. All veterans and their significant other are invited free of charge for the breakfast. And then our breakfast will run from 8:15 to 9 o'clock. And then at 9 o'clock at the elementary school, they will have a Veterans Day program over there. And so we are, something that we had been talking about, thinking about doing for a number of years. We are making a video. There's a video in production thanking our veterans. We just did the video last year for Veterans Day. But we wanted to spice that up isn't the right word, but I can't think of another one right now. Beef it up, improve upon what we were doing with that. And so we're excited to be able to work with our partners at the elementary school to put on a program pre-K through 12. So that will be Thursday, November 9th. We don't have school Friday. Any questions?
Yeah, what's the process that you're gonna advertise for that? Is that go on the newsletters or is it gonna get shared on the
Newsletter was
Facebook?
too late. Facebook. I've been putting it in my parent newsletter to, make sure you share out with families that might not be getting the newsletter. I'm guessing a majority of our veterans are probably not looking at my parent newsletter every week. But school Facebook, newsletters, we'll keep putting it out for,
We'll get to the senior center
yeah.
and get notified.
We're gonna call Legion, let Legion know.
You ever considered the local radio station?
Oh, yeah, that's
You're
like,
gonna-
yeah, we were gonna do the, what's that show that they have on the,
Yeah, they have that show on Friday.
yeah, something like that,
Something radio hour,
huh?
I can't remember what it's called.
Party
military-
liners.
military hour, whatever it is, yeah, KLTF.
Yes, we will get it to the radio station at the,
That's where your
That's
demographic is, probably listening.
right, no, you're right, absolutely. Yeah, we
So,
want as many.
sitting here listening to you. I have a question and maybe you got an answer for me, maybe you don't, but. You ever think about like trying to make a class where we could have some students try to push some of this stuff out on social media instead of staff? Or is that dangerous?
Oh, no, we have a class called Royals TV
Yeah,
that has just started this year. It's a brand new, we bought new equipment and everything, and they are going to be preparing like a bi-weekly, I think it's gonna be. Bi-weekly, like Royals News TV type of thing with sports, a top story, a staff highlight. They're gonna be producing, editing, and put out for broadcast.
there's just so much content being created right now and it doesn't get outside of this building too easy. I mean,
Yeah.
it can. I mean, I seen you, again, the kids are passing around your, your video.
Oh, okay.
No,
Great.
yeah, so, I mean, that's great, but I mean, you know, they can push content out a lot faster than we can, so I just,
I am
when it's
hoping
good
that,
news, it just should get out there.
yes, I am hoping that Royals TV is that vehicle, at least for, you're always gonna be looking to enhance it and advance. At one time, you know, it was just the newsletter, and then we ended up with School Messenger, and School Messenger became a new piece, and the school Facebook page is a new piece. And so when we're talking about strategic plan and communication plans, we're always looking for different ways that we can engage our public as to what's happening in school with us. And Royals TV, I think, will be another way that students can help produce that stuff.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Joel. Chair Hobson, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Workamp Herman. Just to piggyback off of Joel's, our plan is to provide just a little bit of buffer between the breakfast and then our program at 9 in the middle or the elementary gym for people to get over here. I know some veterans want to eat breakfast with their littles and then come over, and that's completely fine too. But really it's organized by adults, executed by our kids. So I'll do a nice welcome and then we'll just hand it off to them and then they're gonna go with it. So they got a plan in order to get the word out with our families. They've sent home veteran stars to be filled out. I know they've done it in pre-K, they've done it in kinder. Those will line the halls and they'll kind of be self-contained here. Being so early to get them on the bus and get over there can be pretty daunting. So they're just gonna hunker down here. But 1 through 5, they'll have that program over there at 9 o'clock. That'll be a fun day. Working backwards, we had our first Catalyst professional development last Wednesday. We had somebody come from Catalyst, do a morning training on Wednesday, and then they did coaching sessions throughout the day. That was well received and a lot of good feedback from that. Upcoming here, next Monday, we have a 4th and 5th grade music performance in the South Gym. That's at 1:30. Then we'll bring over the bus over the all elementary kids to watch that at 1:30, and then whoever wants to come. And then a 6:30 show as well for music performance. That's gonna be in the South Gym. We're just gonna bring the risers on the gym floor and then sit in the bleachers for that. So Halloween parade is coming up as well. So music performance Monday, Halloween parade on Tuesday at 1:30, where we'll kind of do our standard at 1:30. We'll just kind of parade through the halls, kids with their costumes if they want to dress up, and invite parents and grandparents to line our sidewalk out by our playground so they can see those kids as well. We're coming up here. We're into quarter number 1 on the 3rd. November 3rd is the end of our first quarter, so we'll do our bell ringing celebration, and then our grade level celebrations in the afternoon. So we'll kind of get that all wrapped up then as well. Conferences for us are Monday the 6th and Thursday the 9th, 4:30 to 8 o'clock p.m. Those are already open, ready for parents to schedule out for a 15-minute conference in either day. And I know things are busy. Things are super busy that week. So the last thing I have is we're started our science curriculum review. We're moving into our second sample that we're looking at, and we're getting going on that. So any questions?
Thank you, Tony.
Chair Hofstad, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Workamp Herman. I am just going to give you a quick little update about MAP. I told you we changed kind of our registration and what we were doing with MAP. That has gone pretty well. We're still working out the little bits of bugs. But our numbers for MAP, in September in the morning, we averaged 37 kids each morning, and in the afternoon, 47.5 kids in the afternoon, which is up from last spring. So our numbers are continuing to grow in MAP, which is exciting to see. Just a quick little snippet for pre-K. We also have conferences November 6th and 9th from 4:30 until 8 for our pre-K kids. Any questions for me?
How do you manage that half kid?
It's easier than the full kid. They only stayed for a half hour, no.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Speaking of content, we are going to present to you the latest installment of the PBIS video series. This is Hallways. I'll point out some things as it goes along, because it's for context, you know.
It worked earlier.
I got that certificate.
I think it might be me. That's what computers do it on their own.
Ready? Hello, it's what to do and not to do in the hallway. Miss Lynn,
Starring
Mr. Shaver.
starring
Judy Big,
and starring.
and Danny. We want to sleep in it. No, please don't wear me. Oh, sleep in. What Jonah said the other day, it really hurt my feelings. Let's think I'll be all right. Thanks for spending the time to talk to me about it.
Don't ever jump up and hit that header by the door. There's more fingerprints and germs on that thing.
Every day, every day. Oh, every day. Sixth grade.
So annoying, no respect at all.
Oh. What are they on? Yeah, I like the look. They use the carbon design, yeah, perfect. Okay. You're not going to tell you how to get on there. That's how you do it.
Always.
All right, back to me, I guess. All right, the next one is consent agenda approval. The board is consenting to approve items listed below as presented at one time. At any point, a director can pull an item off the consent agenda for further discussion. So the first one is approval of regular board meeting minutes from September 25th. Second is the brainstorm conference, the 9-month non-union contract, community education salary schedule, the food service manager contract, the unlicensed preschool teachers contract, the transportation director contract, which was amended just before the meeting. There is 2 extra days of vacation in there that we wiped out, so we took those out, and that's changed now. Claims, accounts, and financials, approval of resignations, and terminations, approval of new hires. So I will take a motion for the consent agenda. Does anybody want to pull anything first?
Yes, I would like to discuss the community education salary schedule and the unlicensed preschool teachers contract.
Okay. Do you want to discuss them or do you want to pull them out?
I just want to pull them out for errors that I found
Okay.
on them.
Yep. Start with community education.
On that community education salary schedule, on the 24-25 section of that, on step 3, the assistant, it steps down to $11.82 on the copy I have. And then step 7 and 8 is lower than, those increases are lower than what they would be making year prior in 23-24. Just was wondering if those were correct or if those were mistakes.
Those have to be there. Just under the assistant.
Yeah, just the section under the assistants under the 24-25. Just seems to be a couple typos, I think.
All right. Good catch.
I didn't see it.
What was is that it for that one?
That was it.
Okay, and then unlicensed preschool?
Yeah, on the unlicensed preschool contract, it was just, I just think it's just a missed update. On page 6, under the salary schedules, it just has old dates written in there. This is the contract for the 23-25, and it's still listed as Schedule A is for salary schedule 21-22, Schedule B is for salaries 22-23. I think those are just old dates listed there.
Yeah,
Just maybe an amendment to it. That way they don't have to wait for their salary.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, and that's the question for you guys. Are we good approving with those changes to be updated?
I am. I just didn't want them to get missed, is all.
No,
Yep,
for
no,
sure,
that's
especially
It's a
salary.
great catch.
But I'd rather them not have to wait another meeting.
Do we even know what those numbers are supposed to be?
Yeah, we'll be able to calculate those easily enough.
Like that then? A meeting or just going here?
Unless you want
Well-
to bring that one, the salary schedule one back. Nice to get this other one.
I would be fine moving it, but it depends on who moves it, but for the consent agenda, it would have 3 changes then, so the community education salary schedule for the step 3, 7, and 8, and then the unlicensed preschool teacher, the dates for years on page 6 as a change, as well as the transportation director vacation change.
That's the motion that has to be made.
Yep.
So moved.
Okay,
There you go.
thank you, Director Trout.
I'm still lost is what that does though. I mean, does that mean that we're gonna come back and approve those changes?
Nope, we're approving it now
Approving
based
it now.
on the
All right,
changes not being made yet, but
all right. I'll second it.
all right, thank you.
Sam,
Director Hackett. Discussion. All right, all in favor, say aye.
aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Thanks for working through that. All right, so next is the World's Best Workforce Plan, goal number 1 of strategic plan.
Chair Hofstad, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Weir Campaign, Herman, Nicole Cole, the District Assessment Coordinator. So the World's Best Workforce Report is actually a, by Minnesota statute, one that we have to give annually to the, to MDE. And so we have to come up with one that fits into our strategic plan goal number 1. Right now, we have a breakdown on the screen of what our student population is. 94% white, and just a small breakdown of where we're at with our other races. We have our teaching population. We're about half and half when it comes to bachelor's degree and advanced degrees with our teaching staff. Those are teaching only with their licensures. And then on the other side is inexperienced teachers, and tenured and out of field. We do not have any ineffective at this time as reported by principals. And so last year, we focused more on assessment-based type data for our goals. And so last year's was 70% of kindergarten students who attended Royalton Preschool in 21-22 and moved up into kindergarten in 2022-23, that they were in or above the low risk category as measured by the FastBridge early reading assessment. And we were above that at 80.4% for those kindergartners. So this year, our recommendation, you can go to the next, one, because our goal recommendation is on the next page as well. We're looking at, we went to a different curriculum that is going to look more so at the social emotional progressions. So at the end of 23-24 school year, 80% of the preschool students attending the 4-year-old program will score at a proficient level on the 9 identified social emotional progressions as indicated by the Frog Street AIM assessment. So the strategies to do that will be PLC goals that are data focused with the teachers through their observations and through their scores with the students, and utilizing that Frog Street curriculum for positive outcomes for those students. And that will be through their observations. You can go to the next one. All right, 3rd grade literacy proficiency. We stuck with MCA scores for this one because that is our main proficiency. That is what's going to tell us who's proficient. And again, for proficiency, they're going to be at meets or exceeds is what their proficiency is going to mean. So it'll increase from 40%, 40.7% to 60% on their reading. And while we increased, we did not quite hit that 60% mark but we got to 43.9. So our goal for this coming year is the percentage of 3rd grade students meeting or exceeding the standards in reading on all state accountability tests will be above 50%. And again, those strategies are going to be through PLCs, which is teamwork between all the teachers, so that they can look at their benchmarks and see how they need to hit those benchmarks and work cohesively to bring about things, and maybe inputting some reading challenges and aligning again with those benchmarks. So last year, again, for closing the achievement gap, we looked at MCA scores, and this was for special education service students. And this was for special education students throughout the entire district. And we looked to increase from 52.6% to 55%. And we did not quite meet that this year. We got 46.7%. In looking at MCA scores, we are looking for that again for our special ed, because we want to make sure that we are checking out, making sure we're not leaving any gaps with leaving those students that are receiving those services behind with students that do not receive those. So we are going to look at 50% being above. And again, PLCs, because that's the best way for teachers and their planning and communications, and focusing on learning targets, assessments, procedures, engagement, high expectations, and relationships with those students, and then work more on student-specific interventions. Another closing the achievement gap was the free and reduced. So we have to look at that population, and we looked at 65.9% and trying to increase to 70%. That one we also did not make. That one is at 60.2% this last year. And so we thought, okay, maybe that's a little too high for them, or a little too ambitious overall. And so we are thinking we're going to look at that at a 50% for those students. And again, we're going to put them on the same pathway, or looking at the same strategies for achieving those goals. as the special ed students for closing that gap. All right, so this slide, you're gonna see a little bit different here. So we looked at college and career ready, and we were using MCA data for college and career ready. With this one in particular was all students, so that means every grade, and it was 52.4% to 55%, and we decreased actually to 50.2%. The discussion came about, if you wanna stick on that one for a little bit, you'll see that there is no recommendation for the 23-24 year. The discussion came about is, does MCA data really tell us if they are college and career ready? So we came up with a different way of and discussion of how can we actually tell if they're college and career ready besides an MCA score, because some kids don't do well on standardized testing, where others, you know, they could not do well on their reading, but still come out to be an English teacher because they just don't test well.
Or they don't care.
Or they don't care. Yes, exactly. So we also have to look at our testing schedules and make sure that they're not getting over tested. So you can go to the next one now. So we'll see that also with the college and career ready. When it came to math, we were using math as well, and we did see a decrease in that. We wanted to get above 55% or at 55%, and we were at 45.2%. So again, we do not have a recommendation specific to an MCA. And that's all students. You can go to the next. The next one will be science. And so for science, we were at 50.3% and we're hoping for 55%. We made it to 45.1%. And again, this was all students. And just the last time I was here, I showed you the MCA data. And if you recall, when we looked at proficiencies, our students were actually in science above state proficiency every single time. And so the way that this is written is not actually a true representation of what we're actually seeing in World Proficiency versus state proficiency. We are actually above the state proficiency every time. So the way you look at it is different. When you break down the groups, you break them down by grade. So that is why the discussion came about, that college and career readiness and MCAs are the best way to define, are they really there? You can go to the next slide. So this was the recommendation that we are looking for or came up with, is by the time of graduation, 100% of seniors will have developed a post-graduation plan demonstrating career and college readiness and presenting it to a graduation committee in the spring of 2024. Strategies for this is we have what is referred to as artifacts. So they'll work on things like building a resume, filling out a general job application, learning how to write that cover letter, preparing that college application. Maybe they aren't going to college, but they have a job lined up. Preparing those things, and then presenting that to the group. So they're going to work with a leadership team to determine the artifacts. Principal Swenson has already begun doing that with teachers, and then students can meet with teachers and advisors for guidance as they're preparing for that presentation by the end of their senior year.
Any talk of finance in that?
Yes, they actually, as a requirement of graduation, they have to go through a personal finance class.
Great. Side note, did you guys hear that yesterday California passed that they have to teach cursive in school again?
Yep, 1st through 5th grade. That's a requirement now.
Because there's a lot of documents that kids can't read. I didn't know it.
Yep.
So
Well, and my thought was, how can you be a doctor if you don't know how to scribble your name? But you know, just saying. And our last world's best workforce is our graduation rates. Not once has Royalton been below the 90% for graduation rates. We have done very well, and last year we were at 94.1% of the graduating class graduated. So, any questions? Oh, sorry. The strategies and goals. Options for credit recovery. in now the summer, the summer school program, implement more targeted strategies. And we have WIN and the ZAP program. And then we've been utilizing the Royal Ambassadors program for peer support, both academically and socially. My son, who just transferred here in his last year, has actually benefited from that Royal Ambassadors program and had been new to the school in his last year, just to have that one person assigned to him and have somebody taken under their wing and helped it acclimate to the different teaching styles and different way of doing things has been very helpful to him.
Good to hear.
So, any other questions?
Good,
All right,
thank you, Nicole.
thank you.
Great, so, I will take a motion to approve the World's Best Workforce Plan.
Chairman, I'll move that.
Director Hackett,
Second.
second, Director Ryan. Any discussion on that? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Approval of FFA fruit sales.
Chair Hofstad, members of the board, and Dr. Werkamp Herman, Caitlin French, Activities Director again. I'm presenting the annual FFA fruit sale fundraiser that they do. That I believe actually started, I think, this past weekend. So I'm not sure if it had been on the September agenda, but that was my error. And this is the fruit sales that they do every year.
Anybody have any questions on? No. All right,
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that for adoption.
all right, thank you, Director Hackett.
Second.
Second by Director Bauman. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Thank you. And Form A.
Me again. This is for the Form A grant from the State High School League to get funding to help us offset different costs and things like that, based off of our free and reduced lunch. So I'll be submitting what our numbers are based off of, looks at the number of kids that are free and reduced, and then compares it to the number of kids that participate in activities. And then based off of where we fit, we'll potentially get some money in this State High School League.
All right,
Done this before? This is annual? This is annual? Motion to approve.
all right. Motion by Director Bauman,
Second.
second by Director Hackett. Any discussion on that, on the screen?
Is there a specific source or expenditure we use this grant money to cover?
I guess what had
It's
we,
used to offset fees for free and reduced kids to support our program.
yeah, when they get a lower rate.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Next is approval of donations by resolution. One of my favorite parts of the meeting. There's 4 of them again tonight, every month. It's amazing. We are very well supported. So who would like to introduce the acceptance of gifts resolution?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Trobe. SOTUS has generously offered to donate $146 to the FFA to support the agricultural leaders of tomorrow. The second one is the Royals Wrestling Club has generously donated $250 to the Royalton Girls Basketball Program to be used towards supplies and materials. The third one is the Royalton Wrestling Club has generously donated $1,000 to the Royalton Robotics Program to be used for supplies and materials. And the fourth one is the American Legion has generously donated $1,000 towards improvements on the varsity baseball field. Therefore, be it resolved by the school board to gratefully accept the gifts, and the foregoing resolution was seconded by member Hofstad. And upon a roll call vote will be taken.
Dr. Baumann, abstain. Director Hofstad,
Aye.
Director Hackett,
Aye.
Director Boyd,
Aye.
Director Roaring, abstain. Director Trout,
Aye.
All right, 4 in favor and 2 abstain, the motion carries. That is what is the day, the 23rd day of October, 2023. Awesome. Thank you very much. Next one is talking about unpaid school lunch bills discussion.
So I just wanna bring forward that currently we have about $13,000 owed, $13,097.73 to be exact, owed in unpaid lunch bills. I'm just bringing this forward for discussion, just so you're aware of this. Some of that are with $8,000 of that, a little over 8,000 is with active students that are still coming here. About 4,200 of that is for students who are no longer here, whether they've graduated or moved out of our district. And then there's under $1,000 that are staff, and some of the staff are here and will just pay it, just haven't done it yet, and others have moved on to other districts. So it's $13,000, and we do have a couple of them are over $1,000 by individuals that are of parents of students. So just curious as to what the board is thinking about that. Some districts just go ahead and write that off. Other districts send it to collection agencies. And Scott, feel free to weigh in on some of your experiences at your other districts that you've worked with. I've seen it done both ways where they've written them off and have done it to support youth outside agencies. We do call home with a robocall to families, send letters, but sometimes it's not a response. It is a robocall, so it's not a physical person calling and talking to the district. So just bringing that forward.
do we have a policy on it? Like how long they can keep accruing?
We don't have a policy.
Well,
It's
so
just like forever and ever.
we do have a policy, as part of it. And, that's what I just written down is, so it's one we're actually looking at, like, this next time, I think.
But it doesn't direct us to charge off. And it
No,
doesn't
but
direct
what
us
it
to-
does is it says, it still says that you can't, give somebody a separate lunch if they're not
Right.
vendor, but like you can't take their lunch away and stuff like that. And one of the things that we do in the school is they go through the line, so they have their lunch before they go to the checkout. So we'll never take a lunch away. So that's how some of this can keep accruing like that. What I don't know is in that policy, if it talks about, is there what we do at a certain point? And
Yeah, it doesn't talk about, excuse me, I apologize. It doesn't talk about like after you, for example, in the collection world, you'd have 7 years and automatically charges off, right? And then it goes to an outside third party agency who does the collecting. We don't have it like that. It's not like a financial institution that same way. So that's why districts generally have a discussion on what they want to do. And it varies, some districts in the area just let it go. Others have tried agencies. It's very dependent.
I think we should have the superintendent go knock on doors.
So now that lunches are, well, like the main lunches are free, and hopefully that continues. The only way they should continue to get bills is if they do like that third.
The second lunch, yeah,
Yeah.
which would only be a secondary.
So is there a way to shut that off for the overdue ones? But like you said, if they come up and they have 3 of them.
pretty good way to get on the news. To take somebody's lunch away. It's a really good way to get
Right,
on the
because we
news.
wouldn't know. I mean, they've come up with all.
We can't shame them, but,
Right, you don't wanna,
yeah, we can't shame them, we don't want to do that.
No.
With the legislation update to cover the lunch expenses, is there some sort of compensatory that covers debt?
Absolutely
Previous
not,
debt,
and you're not
anything of
able
that
to
sort?
use, you're not able to use Fund 2 to offset the debt that hasn't been paid. So as you know, we have general fund, which is Fund 1, we have Fund 2, we have Fund 4. Fund 2 is its own funds, has to be used for Fund 2 purposes, but it cannot cover unpaid lunch debt. That is a general fund expense.
Seems crazy.
And that's a federal guideline,
That's
to my
why.
knowledge,
That would
I'm pretty
make
sure it
sense.
is because of the guidelines that they.
Could we accept donations for it?
Yes,
Like if a group wanted to?
yes. So some districts have even looked at asking for donations offset. I know a family has raised money in another district that then went ahead and offset some of the lunch costs of that particular school. I've seen others where there was an idea and then COVID hit, so they weren't able to do it, but school board members decided them along with the cabinet, we're gonna go and bag groceries at the local grocery store. You know how you can do that for donations for teams and then have that go to offset the bad debt that that particular district had, but then COVID hit, so they never followed through with that. And I don't know what they did once those restrictions were removed, if they ever.
Do we have a sense? Are these like hardship situations or are they just parents trying to skirt on bills? Like, do we have a sense of what the situations are or it's just debts? We don't know.
We could make a lot of assumptions, I suppose, but nobody really knows who they are because that's confidential data. So there's no way to know, like, I can't talk, nobody in cabinet knows who those people are.
Okay.
All confidential.
How far back does this debt go?
That's a great question. So we tried to look and unfortunately it just keeps adding and David and I were talking about that today. It would take an incredible amount of manpower to determine like when it is. He could get last year's data, but it would still be accumulative from many prior years. It would take a lot of manpower to determine how old it is. Now, you could do some math if a family had moved 3 years ago or something, but it'd take a lot of time and effort to determine that.
Is there a way we can call them personally or not? Like, can the business manager call or can the resource person call and say, hey, this is where you're at with your balance? It's almost like the hospital, we put you on a payment plan, right? We'll pay whatever till it's paid off. I don't know if that, like, have we ever tried to call these people? Maybe some of them just don't realize it and they just forget about it, or who knows?
Well, we're careful who has access to the information because it's so.
Right, but somebody
data
in
privacy.
administration would, obviously the business manager would, right? And then,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Scott, has your experience been to make collection calls? 'Cause-
Yeah, and I was just gonna add too, and David, you can maybe, is David Lem in the room too?
Yes,
Isn't there a when we're talking about this, isn't there like a remind or some type of alert that goes out to families that owe a balance?
yeah,
Yeah, and school messenger.
School messenger, okay, so the question was I was asked how I've handled the situation in the past. Depending on the amount, I would send out an email to families. I'll send them an email and say, hey, we need payment by such and such date. I realize that maybe this wasn't on your radar, but I just want to make sure that we do give you some time that's coming up. Given the holidays, I might give them till say March to pay this. But then after that, if it's not paid, then we need to send it to a collection agency. But at the same time, it was also brought up that somebody asked, is there, they call it an angel fund, right? So we could have an angel fund set up where people can donate to the school and be able to wipe out any balances that are owed for some of these students as well. But I found that collection agency route has worked. I know that some people may not want to do that, but like the board member said, that they may not even be aware of this. So just getting an email sent out to them could work wonders, and they may just feel very apologetic and send in the money and be done with it. It was also brought up too about taking food off of people's plates. We cannot take food off of people's plates or take it off the students' plates. But from a second meal standpoint, we certainly could. Because that is when it falls into being the paid, and that comes out of the school district's pockets, but not from the first meal standpoint. But as Randy said, do we want to end up on the news? hopefully not, but we also are not a charity. We have to make sure that we are doing our due diligence from a fiscal standpoint. So I'd be more than happy to send out emails to families with regards to paying a past due lunch balance, but I would look to the board to give me some guidance as far as like giving a date on that. With the holidays coming up, I really don't want to be pinching some of our families and asking them to pay when they're some families are maybe trying to scrape by and give their families the best Christmas they possibly can.
Is it in your experience that other districts would have this in policy? Like a term, time limit or a amount or any of that stuff?
Not necessarily a time limit, but they would tell me a time frame of what they want to get it back. And we may decide as a board that if we are not able to recoup, all of it, that we would write that off from a general fund from the general fund, as Dr. Weirkamp had mentioned. But as far as policy goes and saying such and such date, well, it all depends on what time of year we bring it up. Like this time of the year we're bringing it up, we may want to consider, say January, February timeframe of paying this back, giving them some time to do it. But it all depends on what time frame of the year that we're discussing it.
You talked about an email. Could we do email and then snail mail kind of thing? So they get 2 notifications of this, how much they owe, and then. I mean, I think that's a great idea, what he's talking about. It'd be nice to at least inform the people that owe money. Because they may not know it or not realize it, they get robo, whatever, some people just deny any call that comes in that they don't know or whatever. To send them a couple notifications and see how much we get back. We may get half the money back. I don't know how many different families it has to get sent to, so it might be quite a bit of work, I don't know.
That you could make an email that kind of says general, the same information, plug in your correct numbers, and
Yeah.
that might not take too long, and then you can just print that.
And then
So you're not
just
retyping,
Right, yeah. I think that's a good
Just
idea, it's a
mail
good
it.
start, it's a good start, you might get half the money back, we might get all the money back, who knows?
Yeah, at least an effort to put forward to get the money back. If we get half the money back, great. But in my experience, we will not get all the money back, but certainly just to let people know that, hey, we're not a personal bank here. Please provide, meals in your students' lunch accounts, or pack their lunch, as we need to make sure we run this as a business and we're not a charity. Even though all meals are free now, but I understand there could be some eye rolls with me saying that, but second meals, third meals, those are not free.
Yeah, I agree. I think email, letter, put a date on it, and then we can come back and regroup and see where we're at.
What do you want to do for a date? Like 1 April, 1 March,
I'd say March,
1 March?
I would do sooner.
Yeah,
You give them too long, they forget about it again.
even February.
I would do February, like you said, get through the holidays, but you give them too much time and it's back burner to other bills.
Well, and if they respond, we can always work with them with that too.
and we'll
Yeah,
put that in
yeah.
there if you wanna work out some
Or
sort of
discuss
arrangement, please,
some kind of
email, call,
Payment, call,
Yep, payment plan.
I don't know who they would call.
we can figure that out,
Yeah.
here we go. And then depending upon the success of this, would we then consider writing some policy language for a dollar amount or a time frame?
Yeah, so that's what I put for a notice to bring it back to the policy committee, and I think we need to make a recommendation to add into that policy.
And what would,
Offer some directive to them, yeah.
what would, I guess that maybe is not a conversation for here. What would be the intent of that language in policy, as in, this is what we would start the collection process at a certain stage? That's the kind of language we'll be looking to add?
I think so.
Yep,
Do you want to send it to a collection agency?
I don't know, I think that's something we have to talk about in,
You can always threaten it without
It does-
doing it too.
It doesn't cost us good.
I do collections sometimes. You can threaten it, but then not follow through. And people might pay then. I don't know that I would put people in collections, but I don't know.
I would say dollar amount, if you got something that's $5,000.
Well, that's
the
not
kids
true.
teach-
Put a dollar.
You know what I
If it's
mean?
over $500 or $1,000.
Right. But what do you do with the ones that don't pay it and they're $5,000 in the hole and their student goes up for second lunch every day or something? You know what I mean? It's just gonna keep growing. So I say you put a dollar amount on it in the policy.
Cause you definitely don't want to send a $20 bill.
No,
No,
no.
So you have to have a threshold. And you're gonna lose 1%. Because they're gonna take the cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
So you wanna
$1,000.
make sure it's worth the effort to send it, or they're not gonna do anything either. As a third party, to see if
Has to be-
$500 deadline.
It has to be a big enough dollar amount to be worth their time and bad publicity,
Yeah, cause I,
you know, and that's a discussion to be had with what that is.
I mean, a lot of districts will do $50, $100, $200. A collection agency is only paid of whether they collect the money or not, obviously. If it goes on to an attorney, then an attorney, making that part of, a case against someone, again, we would only get the money back if they were able to collect any of the funds. The collection agency is just to exhaust all efforts we've made, and then going on to the attorney, we would still recoup a certain amount of that. But I mean, just the sheer, I hate to say the word threat, but I mean, it is, it's a threat of collection agency. It may scare some people to actually pay up. And also too, I would also remind us as a group too, that when we have students who leave and there's balances that they have that we owe back, we can certainly check with those families about, hey, would you, want to check back for this, or would you consider putting this into the Angel Fund to pay off future student lunch balances that are owed? So I know that has worked at other districts I work with, and we're able to recoup some of that and build our Angel Fund to help students that are in need.
pull the fundraise for that, the Angel Fund.
Is there parameters in place when you're going through graduation?
you can't, no.
Like,
They
you get, pay your lunch balance off, get your library books in, then you get your.
In college, that works? In high
I
schools,
thought there
we-
was,
we
and I was
do
trying to
that.
remember where, no,
You
that's
have,
not it.
you
Okay.
cannot have that with both graduation program at high school because of an unpaid debt.
I just thought it was, and I just wanted to verify.
Right, I think
I don't know
they do that
where I
in
heard it, but.
They do.
No,
Guess
not
not.
high school.
So does that give you guys enough to
Well,
start?
Maybe we should circle back to the collection conversation and just start with the letters.
Yeah,
But would you want that in the letter saying that?
we can put it in there either way. You know what I mean?
Start
And
with
then if
the
we take it to
initial.
policy and start looking at some of what other schools do and kind of come up with a recommendation, then we can bring that back next month, and it'll be 3 months still before we have to actually decide what we're gonna do or how it's going.
Is this probably this high of a lunch debt for us, or is this kind of large?
We have no
13,000?
idea how long it is.
Yeah, like, just curious. is this,
My prior district was $600,000.
What was the
Right.
total?
$600,000 my prior district when I worked. This is.
What was royalties total right now?
What, 13,000?
That's nothing.
70
Okay.
No, 70.
We just have a few individuals that are higher than.
This is what them to be.
Yeah.
So this isn't a large problem.
No.
All right, for more future conversation. Student liaison to the board discussion. Sure.
So we just kind of talked about this and talked about different options, and so we had talked in agenda setting about bringing this back again for conversation. Do we wanna, some districts have a student liaison that will sit up at the table and give their point of view on the topics from a student lens. They're generally, from everything I've known and worked with, they were seniors, and you'd have one with a backup. So we're bringing that forward again for discussion, some way to get student voice in at the highest level of governance, for the district, since it is their school, so that's one idea. We'd also talked about in the past of them coming and presenting a little bit. We had that one time that happened, so just kind of bringing that back up for discussion.
Yeah, and I know I brought it up because there's a few different things, but my thought was if we ask for them to come in person once a quarter to get feedback on whatever is going on at that time. But I think it gives them a voice of just an open forum for like the student report, just like the principal's report or anything else. And we can understand a little bit about what's going on or what actually matters to the seniors as they're talking about it, making sure that we're understanding what else is going on.
Would we need to limit this to seniors only? I mean, I don't even know if you're gonna get enough volunteers if you limit it at all. And wouldn't you, I mean, personally, I think you'd want to involve students as much as possible in every aspect. Would you be looking for would we be looking for like a school-wide invitation, or would you be looking for like kids who are headed towards business-oriented paths that would want this as also like experience? Or just
My thought was like one from each sector, right? So one elementary school, probably a 4th or 5th grader, one from middle school and anywhere in there, and one from high school.
like student council kids, or just
It could
would the
be,
gap be? But this is something they would kind of work
I think it'd be
for or
up
nominated for?
to the principal or the staff there to kind of figure that out. Cause I know we've used a couple of student council people in the past to do that. And then, you know, there's a few times we've had teachers come and present, but it was their kids that came and presented stuff for different things, which was really neat to see the students' face light up that they get to talk about the makerspace room or, you know, whatever it is and what they get to do in there, so.
Isn't that kind of what the student council does? They kind of take ideas from other students and then try and bring them to either teachers or administration to get things done. Isn't that kind of what they do? So it makes sense to have this spot on there for student council when they want to come and present something, and maybe invite them once a quarter. Or allow them to come every meeting if they'd like to, and they can present, because they're the ones out there, right? The student council is the ones out there talking to all the other students, right? And saying, hey, this is what we want to do in the school. We want to make some changes, we'll talk to administration, the school board, or teachers, or whatever the case may be. Isn't that kind of what they already do? We just not student council. And when I went to school in Uppsala, and the student council went to every school board meeting. So I don't know if that, we just extend that invitation and say, hey, kind of what the student council does, and if you want some major changes, the school board being the highest level, the one you want to go to have those changes done, you know, they're the ones that are talking with the students, they're elected by the students. And now they get to come and talk to us, kind of the same thing like what we're doing here, we're elected by the community. So we come and talk to administration or teachers or whatever the case may be, it's kind of the same thing, there's on a little bit lower level. Is the way I see it, but other than trying to find some other person that's kind of doing what the student council is elected to do by their peers. That's just my take on it.
I'm fine with any, I think we're lacking that input right now, so.
I agree.
I'm all for it if students are willing to come and want to do it. It's great.
Does student council have a president, vice president, hierarchy like that, right?
And I think it could be anybody, because I don't want somebody not to do something for student council because they have to come to board meeting.
Oh, I agree. Do we extend the invitation to them and say, hey, would you guys like to come? We'd like to at least have a little discussion with you and see what you guys are working on or what you'd like to work on. And can we help them really? You know, just be there.
Really, have principals have any input on that?
We're always working. It is a skill like anything else in terms of governance, you know, to make student council not about designing homecoming, but they're actually the student voice and developing, finding out where the kids are at, what's going well in school, what's something that you would like to improve. we're always pushing to try to make our student council move in a student governance direction. It's harder to do than, they're not naturally inclined to think that way. They want Fridays off and they want orange chicken every lunch. And they're trying to push them to go deeper is always something that I believe in student government, I believe in student voice. When we have had those opportunities and we've engaged the right people, the information, we had a student forum last year with a group of kids. It was invaluable. It was great information for us to work with. And so if we want, if that's what the board is looking for, we're gonna need a little time to provide further guidance and instruction on how to move the council more in that direction. But I think it would be valuable.
If the meeting is too formal, perhaps a work session would be the first place to introduce it, where it's a little less formal. It doesn't have all the rigid, we gotta pass this, it's just, here's a presentation, I don't know, I'm thinking about myself when I was in high school and would I come and stand before this board and give a presentation, I'd have a hard time, I think. So,
The other thing you could look at too is different, you could like rotate it, like student council, yes club, FFA, like, because when you look at the different clubs, different interests and different things are gonna come forward that one organization maybe wouldn't think about and the other one would.
We ever extended an invite to any of the clubs or the student council, say, hey, we were talking about you guys, we'd like to have you at one of our meetings.
We have for clubs.
Okay.
I know,
Luna came and spoke from student council
yep,
last year. We had the one time.
Is Moon the president this year? No.
I don't know who president right now. Is it Luna? Or is it me?
I would,
I think it'd be valuable to have the fifth grade. If at one point, maybe in the spring of the year, we'll have to get going. Like Bill said, talked about, we did that one student voice around, what does a highly effective classroom look like? And it was really eye-opening to sit with the fifth graders and get actually the fourth and fifth graders. And to get what they said was a highly effective classroom. And then you went into the secondary and got a different feel, and it was just really good. It was really eye-opening. So I think it'd be beneficial to have them come one time.
personally, as a board member, I'd like to hear 2 or 3 things that are going well, just to know, what we think is well and what they think is well are 2 different things, and then 2 or 3 things that we could improve. I mean, that would be not that has to be the format of it, but not only to hear what they want to change, but what they're happy with too, because not that it just lets us know what decisions were made right or that they feel are right,
Does the elementary have a student council?
Yeah.
Into the school in 5th grade.
Maybe we extend the invite out and just see if they wanna go. I mean, obviously, you take a little bit more time so they can kind of understand what we're doing, but maybe at a work session would be good. Less.
Well, I'm just thinking like, you get to the consent agenda and stuff and they're like, what is going on here? These guys, they don't talk about anything. They say, I don't know, what is going on? And I get it, that's part of the learning curve, but I don't know,
But if we had them on the agenda, they could leave after they were
Right.
done.
Right.
Put them down a little way so they have to see some of it, but maybe not all of it.
just before the consent agenda.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, I have about 6 things written down for that, so I think we can come up with kind of a rotation plan.
Yeah.
Possibly to do that, and then we'll work with you guys to see who we should invite and why. Through some different things.
And if it feels overwhelming, would we maybe run some guidelines on what kind of information we would solicit? Like, kind of what you just said, Dr. Werkamp, makes me think of World Best Workforce goals, rephrase in elementary language. and solicit information from them. So we're getting solid advice that gears towards the goals that we're working towards, right? Rather than them telling us about pizza on Fridays that they love. I mean, not that they shouldn't, but that it's not such a vast, overwhelming, like, what are we supposed to tell them? Or the teacher that helps govern the, clubs feels pressure to try to equip them and doesn't really know what we're looking for.
Yep. Well, to that point, that's what I'm writing these down for, like, as what we're going to improve, what would you like to look at first? Why does it matter to you, whatever it is that we're talking about, and coming up with some of those things so we can kind of pick something and have them talk specifically answering these questions about it, so it's kind of just a little form.
Right.
And then we can ask questions afterwards and whatever else, but they'd have a lot of expectation management ahead of time, what that is. All right. School support personnel aid.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring this to attention. I don't really have a solution yet on this, but, this is a new funding stream that's come from the state from this past legislative session, and we could get allocated $40,000. However, the position has to be for a licensed, school social worker, a licensed, mental health provider, that kind of thing. So $40,000 does not get you very far, for that type of person, that salaried person, and we're not able to supplant. So a current licensed social worker or a current, licensed school psychologist or a current, we can't move that FTE into that dollar amount. We can't
Fire.
supplant. And $40,000 doesn't.
Rehire
Yeah.
another part-time.
doesn't cover that. So right now, we do have 2 behavior interventionists that are both licensed as school social workers that we actually contract using ESSER money through Northern Pines. There is some stipulation in the legislation that states if ESSER money paid for it, you can go ahead then and use this dollars. We would then, however, likely have to use the ESSER money that we have currently to use that up. We don't want to lose that either. So still trying to feel out the school support personnel aid. It might end up being a next year where we access those dollars, unless we can make something work now. Could be probably maybe a 0.4 FTE, maybe with 40,000 when you think about benefits. So I just wanted to bring that because you guys can just think about that. We don't have to do anything with that right now, but just be thinking about that. And maybe there's ideas in our future, and just remembering the license, you can't supplant. It's only 40,000. So I just wanted to bring that up. And right now, our current budget that we have left for the FIN 161 and the ESSER money is allocated accordingly. And there's a lot of stipulations on that fund, so we can't just move those dollars to something else like technology, which we can always use, but we can't because it has to be for after school. We got the pass to use it for the behavior interventionists. They authorized us to do that. So just letting you know, that's where we sit with that.
All right, any questions on that? All right, we will go into policy readings. So we're adding to the first policy readings for the next thing, 103, 210, 404, 417, and 506. Second policy readings, so we looked at them once and we'll look at them again this next, look at the revisions this next time is 620, 621, and 624. And then the next two is for approval, the second policy readings, the final reading due to minor changes, 709 student transportation safety policy and 806 crisis management policy.
Mr. Chairman, I move these policies for approval.
Thank you, Director Hackett. Second by Director Bowman. Any discussion on those two? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Approval of third policy readings. These we've looked at least 4 times. This is 102, equal educational opportunity, 418, drug-free workplace, drug-free school, 419, tobacco-free environment, possession and use of tobacco, tobacco-related devices and electronic delivery devices, vaping awareness and prevention instruction. 507, corporal punishment and prone restraint. 514, bullying prohibition policy. 516.5, overdose medication. 601, school district curriculum and instruction goals. 603, curriculum development. 613, graduation requirements. And 616, school district system accountability.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Director. Motion by Director Bauman,
Second.
second by Director Hackett. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. All right, upcoming meeting schedule, November 8th, 2 p.m. policy meeting. Everybody still good for that one?
I have conflict,
Okay,
so I would be unavailable the entire day, unfortunately,
okay.
So
What about the next Wednesday?
I think all the rest Wednesdays are fine.
Rhymes with the 15th, I think.
That would-
Yeah.
Natalia does it.
I was gonna get a pedicure that
Same.
day, but
Same time, 2 o'clock.
Everybody go to PPM. No.
Yeah, I think.
Cause I,
For five, yeah, for those five, yeah, we.
Okay.
yeah, 2 o'clock.
so I just updated on your calendar, so you should see it.
Awesome.
I do have a question for policy committee.
Yeah.
So if there is something in policy that like we would maybe like want reviewed or looked at, do you wait until it comes back around again? Is it, okay,
So there's some annual policies and there's some 3-year policies that are in the rotation. But we just pulled one, or did we pull 2 into the cycle? Like, hey, this one kind of goes with this, we should look at this one, so we just pulled it in and said, yep, we're gonna look at this one this next time.
Are you saying that because you have a policy you want us to look at?
dress code possibly.
Sure.
I don't, anybody who has girls is a nightmare trying to find non-crop top shirts. So it might just be something worth looking at. I know Sertel does not have a dress code any longer. They seem to be doing fine, but. I don't think it specifically says, I think it says like midriff or something, but.
every 7-8 years, kids think they found out that they have belly buttons and they never knew it.
Well, it's like,
the
it's
style
trend,
goes that
and you
way,
gotta
it
look at
goes
the
that way.
style. It's so. I know shopping was a nightmare for the school, coming up school year, but. As a district, I don't know if that's what we wanna do, I just.
I'll write that down to add to the policy readings for next month.
Well, it's no rush either, I just,
No, but it's
I've
good to
had a
bring up.
bunch going through already, so.
Yeah, why not? All right, finance meeting noon, November 21st. So good with that. All right, and then 27th is the regular board meeting. And then the 29th is the strategic planning meeting.
I should be able to make that work, the 29th.
All right,
Will not be here in the regular board meeting on the 27th.
make somebody else call roll.
What's the timeline on that strategic planning meeting again?
6 o'clock,
6 o'clock.
6 to 7:30 in the cafeteria.
Why haven't I done that?
Hard saying that, no. But I don't know.
It's so hard, just like the bathroom. I might be able to attend the 29th, but I'll have to confirm that. I'll send an email and confirm that.
But you think you will? Most likely?
Most likely I should be able to, just flex on that 6 p.m. I just have to confirm 6 p.m. I can make it that time.
No, that sounds good. I will take a motion to close our meeting for superintendent evaluation as permitted by Minnesota statute section 13D.05.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, by Director Jackets. Second by Director Bauman. Close the regular meeting at 7:35 p.m. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is closed. Right.